That took a while to get through, didn't it?
Jennifer, call Henry Schnapp right away.
Andy Murray's playing tennis at the moment.
John Toms is going to be broadcasting. Okay.
Okay, good. Are you ready?
Oh.
Okay, guys. Welcome to Glasgow.
Yeah, we're so happy to be here. This is wonderful. Thank you for having us.
And the sun's up.
Absolutely. The sun's out for a change.
It's fairly late at night.
So, can you tell me how you all came to be, how the whole thing started and how it snowballed?
Well, we started this organization in 2013. We had a lot of people that we knew who were suffering from the economic downturn of 2008, where all of the banks basically were bailed out by our governments. And subsequently what happened was people were laid off of work and rents continued to skyrocket. Food became very expensive. We had a lot of people that were hurting, and we can only help so many, and we were not able to find friends, and so we thought, let's do something with our music, because one thing we can do. And so we decided to make a nonprofit entity and make music that would be a seed that would just help plant food and help basically support food banks. And we started off in Los Angeles, and it worked really well. And when Glasgow found out about it, they contacted us, some people in Glasgow, musicians in Glasgow who wanted to do it, like John Zipp, who's right here.
Yeah, John.
And
started.
John Zipp.
That's the drum kit just on
John Zipp wrote a letter to me and reached out to me, as well as a number of other people did at the same time. And it turns out we've started and launched a successful Brother of Bombs Glasgow that have been holding events. They've been helping people right here in Glasgow. And I see a bright future. It's sad that we even have food banks in the first place. I mean, I think we can all agree that we shouldn't have them at all, and it's quite embarrassing for either the USA or our country with the GDP like we have to have anybody who's doing without or wondering where they're going to get their next meal. But the fact is we do, and the government really doesn't. They just really, I don't know, they're too preoccupied with other things like politics to really get into the fine pieces, and they can't really care. But this is our community. We have to stand up and do something. 2010, we only had 48 food banks in the UK. 2015, 400 and something odd. Today, over 2,000. That's something that hasn't been covered by any news press that we've seen, and yet, other than maybe the Independent every once in a while, but you don't find it in Daily Mail or any of those. So anyway, it's like, wow, we better stand up and do something, because these are our brothers, our sisters, our family here, our own communities, and it's happening all over. I'm getting letters from basically all over the world. They're expressing an interest in maybe holding an event. At first, it's like a bake sale, right? You have musicians gathered together to pool their resources, their talents, and they all put the hat out. And everybody, they all agree which, food bank is, worthy of such a thing. And then we try to vet it. We try to have a policy in our organization where we actually walk the food bank and make sure that they're helping people and they're not just an office somewhere that has executives that get paid all this money and everything else. So we try to vet the food banks, and then we get the community involved. I've just had, in the last few days, I've had 3 people contact me and come up to me and say that they're now volunteering for their local food bank because they didn't realize it was such a problem, and they're getting involved in their own community. So that's worth, so much more, to have actually people care. And, any one of us could be in that same position of somebody that we're trying to help. And everybody is just one accident away, one slip away, one fall in the bathtub, you can't get to work, and then everything happens like that. It doesn't mean that you're lazy or you don't want to work or anything. I think I was reading that a third of all recipients of food bank that get help from food banks have some sort of disability, and almost half of them are kids too. There's a huge number that are kids.
Also, a lot of them are actually in work.
Yeah, and some of them, we were talking about that earlier. Some of them, they have pensions, and they just, when you switch over, it's 6 weeks here in the UK before you can even get anything. You're locked out. Well, what are you going to get into debt? You're going to use credit cards. You're going to borrow, and some people don't have family members they can borrow from. So it's crushing these people, absolutely crushing them. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're not lazy. They work their whole life. They put their money away, and now they're getting screwed. So we're like, we don't want that to happen in our own communities. And John Zipp was one person who stood up and said, I'm going to lend my talent. He's a very talented writer and performer, and has been for a long time. He's going to lend his talent to help people in his own community, and we love him to pieces. So maybe John would like to.
Yeah, I picked up on it because I saw this image on Facebook, and I was quite taken with it being a punk band. it appealed to me. But I wanted to hear the backstory, so I contacted Brad, heard what was going on. I was actually quite shocked that in LA it was so bad. You just assume from all the media that you get from America that LA is the land of opportunity, and although I know there would be homelessness and people requiring social assistance, I didn't realise it was on such a wide scale. From what you were saying earlier today, it's industrial scale with forklift trucks taking stuff into the food banks and all that. I mean, that's just crazy, you know. But over the course of then a few emails and messages, we realised we had a sort of common goal, and we got some like-minded people, including the video team here, to say they would want it to be involved. I mean, it's a no-brainer when you explain to people what you're trying to do. It's like, yeah, let me, I want in, you know.
That's actually like when we were loading the stuff into a taxi tonight to come here. The driver saying, "What are you doing?" I told her, explained what it was all about, and she was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think she actually shortchanged the car brake so she didn't charge us the full amount. You know what I mean? And she took us round. She says, "That big gig going down there, I'm going to avoid all that traffic for you, just to get you there in plenty of time." And she was great, you know. So as you say, once you get the message out there and you explain to people. You know, another thing that I would notice as well, Brad, is that this started as a kernel of an idea in LA. It's now in Glasgow. I know there's a big shout out to Bristol as well. And it seems to be going. It seems to be picking up steam.
I'm getting messages from Germany. We've been invited to go to Belgium now. Messages from India, from Russia even. We were working with somebody in Russia who's curious about maybe starting something there. I mean, certain places, Japan. There's certain places that have nuances. Like in Beirut, we have a person there on the ground in Beirut, but the nonprofit organizations are very difficult to work with because it's a little bit corrupt. So there are some problems in some countries that just probably going to have a very hard time getting a seed growing there.
Yeah.
But you know, with enough watering and enough care, anything's possible, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's exactly the way I'd want to end this interview, because.
Well, thank you so much for what you and Kim are doing by documenting the beginning of River Bombs Glasgow. It's great. So without it, we wouldn't have it.
John is the first guy that I saw promote this idea on Facebook. Then I came down, I saw you, then the Zips came on afterwards and they said to us, bring down some stuff, for God's sake. And of course we did. And what a night we had, it's great. So,
yeah, it's growing all the time.
We're
here at the Clutha, apart from having the gig here at the Clutha tonight, we've also been in talks with Alan Crossan, who runs the Clutha Trust, to work under them as an umbrella organisation. We would work under them because we're so small just now. We're not at the stage where we can set up our own charity, registered Scottish charity, but we can work under their umbrella and keep the financial control and all that in place. So we're in the early stages.
I understand that because you're just a CIC as well, so it's just us. But thanks for everything you're doing, guys. All of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Tremendous.
And thanks, Kim. Kim's behind the camera. You never get to see those heroes behind the camera, but
the camera should just show.
She's too modest.
This is a cue to fly in a nice picture of Kim right now.
Kim, nod it up and down.
All right, thanks.
Cheers, guys.
That's great, Tom. Excellent.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.